All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone to our Let's Be Real About Real Estate conversation that we're going to have with the Curtin team tonight. So thanks for being on. Um, it is just a conversation. We are not here to talk about getting licensed, getting into the business. It is what it actually takes to start a career in real estate today. Okay. And if, by the end of this time together, if it becomes very clear to you whether, yes, this is something another chapter that I can do or should be doing, or it's not, that's really the win. This is just about clarity. So knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do. So I want to welcome you on. And first, I'd like to really go through the team. Everyone on the Curtin team is on this Zoom, and just start out by saying who you are, how long you've been doing real estate, and what did you do prior to real estate. So I'll start. I'm Joanne Curtin. This will be my 25th year in the business in June. And I was a teacher for 5 years, have a master's in early childhood ed. Um, and yeah, came into real estate after 5 years. So
All
never looked back. Tom,
right.
we'll go to Tom next. And then
Yeah.
Tom, you can facilitate our questions that we have for the evening. So,
Okay. All right. I'm Tom Curtin. I am the now the CEO of the Curtin team, but I started 24 years ago as Joanne's unlicensed assistant, basically. So I've got my license right after that, and I've had probably every role on the team. So I've had quite a breadth of experience with real estate. And prior to getting into real estate, I was in sales and marketing for, at that time, DirecTV, the satellite company. Kanani, you want to go?
Hi, I am Kanani Briggs. I am the lead agent and agent mentor on the Curtin team. I've been with the Curtin team a little over 5 years. And prior to that, I had a career in medical diagnostics and business development, and then also was a network marketing vice president, and then most recently, a coach for women entrepreneurs. So I've had several chapters prior to real estate.
Shelby?
Sorry, just got off mute. My name is Shelby. I have been in real estate for about 4.5 years. Came from customer service, so nothing real estate related. And just had an interest in getting into real estate. Got my license pretty quickly after I joined the team, and have worked more in the back end, inside sales and marketing. So I am a licensed agent, but I work more on the administrative side, and the marketing side on the team.
All right. Heather.
I'm Heather Woodruff. I've been in real estate for almost 10 years now. Four of those have been with the Curtin team. Prior to that, I lived in the Boston area and did real estate there. And before that, I was a physical therapist most of my time working in public school systems, but I also taught new mom and baby classes as well. And also had no experience with real estate when I made the switch 10 years ago, but haven't looked back since.
Great. Abby.
Hey, I'm Abby Schmidt. I've been on the Curtin team about a year. I have been in real estate in some facet for 12 years since I graduated college. I've had my real estate license the entire time, but most of my career was in the commercial space. So took a little stint with a small business here in Roswell and then found myself here because I need to be near my kids. We can talk more about that though.
Yeah. All right. Lynn.
My name's Lynn, and I'm the team's account manager. So similar to Shelby, I kind of work behind the scenes, kind of on the back end. I've been on the team, it'll be just about 3 years at the end of May, and brand new to real estate then. I was in the legal field for probably a little over 15 years. So kind of got my license, joined the team, and it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to start, Kanani, I'm going to start with you with this question. So what do you feel like most people think this job is, and what is it actually?
Yeah, so I think that people glamorize this profession a lot and think that all we do is what they see on HGTV and that we look at pretty houses and then we write offers and we cash checks and we have lots of free time. And it is some of that, but it's really about relationships and it's a people business. It's a people business kind of disguised as real estate. So that I think is kind of what people, think versus what it really is.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so Heather, what surprised you most when you first got started?
That transactions weren't instantaneous. I
Mm,
think when I started in real estate, I was so green. From public schools and working with moms and babies, I really had no expectations or really didn't even know what I didn't know. But I really thought that you would sign on with a brokerage and you would just start having listings and having deals and didn't
mhm,
really grasp the scope of the work that has to go into it and the consistent work that has to go into it.
mhm. Joanne, I know you had a similar experience. What would you add to that as far as what surprised you?
Oh, um, well, what surprised me, like everything. Um, I think what surprised me was, a lot of my very first broker was very, um, just like, oh, everything's going to be fine. And people were saying, oh, there's no real emergency in real estate. And I was like, everything's an emergency. And it was an emergency to me. So I took it very seriously. But the industry around me was just like, there's no real emergency in real estate. And I just felt like I was working in a different place because everything was a hot potato for me and my clients, it felt like. So, I was by myself. So I will say another thing that surprised me was I went to my broker and asked for help. I said, I know who I want to join. She sits right here. I've hosted open houses for her, and I want to team up with Barbara. And she said, you're not going to team up with Barbara. You're going to do this on your own. And she was just encouraging me to like recreate the wheel. And someone else had done all of this. And I wanted to just go forward faster with Barbara. But
Mhm.
so that surprised me that teamwork was discouraged, really.
Yeah,
Collaboration.
I mean, that was a long time ago, so I will say teams weren't, right, like
No.
very prevalent 25 years ago, and now they're pretty prevalent. So that, what else have you seen, I guess, compared to today, Joanne,
Oh,
to how it was even 7 or 10
yeah.
years ago?
So that's a great question. And mainly, that long ago, the value of a realtor was a lot of information. And so I was an educator. I got to educate, and people valued me for information, for listings, and, um, you know, for things that they couldn't find out on their own. So that was how it was for me, and it felt very comfortable. But now, real estate has moved away from educating, and it's more, advising. So now you're not informing people anymore. You're just guiding them into very smart decisions through a lot of healthy interpretation of what's really happening in the market. And it's relational because only really can you teach people how to think when there's a high level of trust. So the relationship is and people are very financially savvy. So the winners in real estate today are relationship driven and financially savvy.
Yep. So Abby, so you've got young kids that you are balancing, right, with this career. So what does a typical day look like for you
Well, at
when you're
any
working?
moment one could fall through the sky, so beware. But I mean, it's juggling a lot of different priorities and really
Mhm.
managing my kids, but also my clients and transactions that are going on. And it's somewhat ebb and flow. Like occasionally I'm at a dance practice and I'm on the phone and I have someone scootering and, hope nobody's walking at the same time. But
Mhm.
oftentimes it's how much can I get done while everyone's at school that is meaningful and what can I do after they're, with my husband for a couple hours in the evening or what have you. So it's a continuous workflow rather than just your typical 9 to 5, which I think is something really important when people are thinking about real estate as a career, is that
Yeah.
you have to be on often, but keep moving at all times.
Mhm.
That's a good
Yeah.
way to put it.
Heather, what would you add to that typical day?
Um, Similar to Abby, my kids are older, but I still find that I'm doing a lot of juggling. And I
Mhm.
think it's really um, prioritizing and being really intentional with your day because at any point in time, things can get derailed, whether it's a client that needs something, a showing that comes up, a house that you're locked out of or your clients are locked out of, and you're kind of pivoting at any given moment. But it's really being intentional and having a focus every single day as you get up and
Mhm.
plan for that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things I see, and I was going to ask you about what you feel like catches a lot of agents off guard, Kanani, when they first start. But I think that what I've seen, just to add my perspective, is that you do have to prioritize and you have to treat it like a job because nobody's telling you necessarily what to do, right? So if you're not prioritizing and deciding what's important and making time to like do those things, then you could just find yourself at Target all day or whatever, and you haven't done anything. So, but what do you think as far as what is the most difficult with new agents making that transition,
Yeah.
and what catches them kind of off guard a lot of times?
Yeah, and a couple of us have already touched on it. It's it's not an instant gratification type of business.
Hmm.
So it does take time it takes time to build the relationship and the trust that Joanne talked about to then be the guide for your client. But then being the guide for the client doesn't mean that you're going to get paid next week. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years because you're building this relationship and you're really unless it's a specific situation with the client that they have a set time frame, you really are building this relationship, which is often and what we want, a long-term relationship. So what
Hmm.
I see the downfall with newer agents, and in my role of mentoring newer agents, is that they give up too quickly.
Hmm.
So you have to plant the seeds, you have to water them, you have
Hmm.
to wait until the harvest comes in. But when the harvest comes in, it really comes in. And I see that people quit right before things are about
Hmm.
to start to turn. So it takes consistency when you're not seeing results. You have to have faith that, which is why being part of a team is so important because you have people surrounding you who have been through this and they can tell you, hey, hold on, it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to be like popcorn. One's going to pop and then it's going to be pop, pop, pop. But without somebody pouring that into you, it is super easy to say, you know what? I'm not sure this is for me. I think
Hmm.
I may need to go back and get a job.
Yeah.
So that's, one thing I see, just timing and consistency is so important.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you have to be financially prepared for the time that it's going to take, because that might be another misconception that it's 100% commission, right? Which I guess some people don't always realize that either. But with that, even if you had a client that was ready to buy on your first day, by the time you go under contract, by the time it closes, I mean, you're 60, 90 days out. So for most people, we always say budget for 6 months, your first 6 months. I mean, that was how long it took for Joanna and I. Will say you can shortcut that with a team.
Mhm,
Um, but you have to be prepared to balance that financial roller coaster, right?
mhm,
Um,
mhm. Yeah.
yeah. Um, So this one's just anyone that wants to jump in, but what backgrounds or careers tend to translate well into real estate? Is there any kind of
I'll
broad
answer.
things that you've seen?
Yeah, I think teachers tend to transition really well, or people in public schools and healthcare. And I think part of that is a teacher is used to juggling a lot of balls and being very systematic and organized, as at least really good teachers are. And
Mhm.
same thing with healthcare. You're usually just juggling many people and many hats and many roles all at the same time. Um, and it also really hones in on your negotiating skills. And I think that's one of the biggest things I learned working in schools and I worked in a very affluent school district. And so when parents aren't happy, they let you know very, very quickly. And I can
Mhm.
tell you, no one will grill you, like a parent who thinks you're not hearing what their child needs. And
Uh-huh.
so I can take a lot from on the hot seat when needed.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I think it's the structure we were so well trained with having to have, right, in healthcare and in educating. And if you just apply structure to real estate, wow, what can
Mhm.
you do with that? Like a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about money earlier. I mean, I did not get into the business for making money. It was a different level of life and quality that I was looking for over time. And, um, if you put a structure to that, I mean, you can just really grow it into whatever you want to do. But I think the structure is a real big piece
Yeah.
of success.
So I hear a lot of concerns with people that just feel like they don't have, any experience, right? And none of us did, they're right. And
Yeah.
we all started from scratch. But what what traits or what do you feel like translates as far as experience into this business? Like, what's more important than having actual real estate experience when you're starting?
I think,
Being able to interact with people.
yeah,
Hmm.
Oh,
I was
sorry,
going to
Kanani.
say,
It's people
and
skills.
Yeah, relationship building.
yeah, any type of sales, any
Hmm.
type of client-facing type of customer service. I
Hmm.
think that translates well because at the end of the day, that's what it's someone who can build trust,
Hmm.
who can communicate their ideas effectively. That's what's really, but then it's the consistency. So it's someone who has the work ethic to create a goal, to go for the goal. I mean, the great thing about while it is 100% commission, that's the beauty of it. So you can
Hmm.
make it what you want it to be or what you need it to be. But in order to do that, you do have to have any type of background where you do have either structure or just work ethic.
Hmm. Yeah. Shelby, let's talk about marketing for a minute. So, how important do you feel like personal branding and visibility is in today's real estate market?
I definitely think it's important, but not in the way that I think a lot of people expect it. I think a lot of people are hesitant, thinking they need a big social media following or
Hmm.
something like that. And while that's definitely a piece of it and can be helpful, I think where we've found the most success is just diving into your network that already exists, the
Hmm.
people that already know you and love you and trust you or are connected to you, either directly or indirectly. And it just comes with time, allowing your network to find out what you're doing and vocalizing that and being consistent on social media, I think is huge. But other pieces of it are just staying in touch with the people that you already know.
Hmm.
And then diving into different sort of avenues, whether it's social media where you can do videos or posts or events where you can network that way or networking with referral agents. There's a lot of pieces, and I think there's a lot of different things to consider when it comes to visibility, and the branding part kind of comes as you continue to be consistent and authentic online and
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Yeah, that's great.
Can I add on to that, Tom,
Yeah.
that Shelby touched on something that's really important. And it's what I hear from a lot of people who are thinking about real estate is like, where do you find your clients? Like, how do you find
Yeah.
clients?
Mhm.
And I think that holds people back from getting into it. And I found that while there are all sorts of systems that you can use to generate leads and clients, what Shelby said, leaning into your network, leaning
Mhm.
into the things that you are passionate about, whether it's your community and volunteering, your church, your school, your PTO president,
The
lean
sports
into the
team.
things that you're
Mhm.
already known for, that you're already good at, and
Mhm.
that's where your clients come from. It may not be overnight, but with the help of vocalizing that you're in real estate, those do turn into those are who you're going to be helping.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Um,
I was just going to
okay.
add, Tom, I ran into an agent that I haven't seen in years when we were at the Live Luxury event at the showroom, and she said, "I remember the first class I took when you got into real estate. I remembered I was so nervous. I was like, what am I?" And I was like, "Tell me, because I'm doing a Zoom about this. This is gold. What do you remember?" She was like, "Well, I remember that you were saying how your goal for the day was just to have an appointment with someone. And if you had made an appointment with someone that day, then that was your win." And she said, your goal was to have 4 appointments for the week. They could have all been in one day or just smattering or whatever. And if you had made the appointment for the day, then you got to check off that you worked that day. And that was something that I kind of needed to feel too, like an accomplishment, because real estate, can just last all day long, right? There's no cutoff period. And so she, and she remembered specifically, like, if when I made an appointment, like I just went shopping, like I rewarded myself in some way. I didn't have kids, so I just would go
I remember
shopping. I'd
that
go to
too.
oh, you remember that too. So, she was like, "I just love that." That gave me permission. So it's literally just something so simple. And that was freedom was motivational for me to just get an appointment. And then I could have a free time, of whatever I needed to do for the day. So
Mhm. Um, Kanani, if somebody starts, what would they expect if they're brand new? What should they expect in their first 6 months? If obviously it would be different if they start as a solo agent in the office versus starting with a team. So, however you want to tackle that question, but what would somebody expect in their first 6 months?
Yeah, so regardless of what the structure is, if they are on their own or part of a team, the the first few months, it's really soaking in as much as you can. So what they don't tell you is all those hours that you spent on the pre-license course and getting your license really has nothing to do with what you're going to do every day. So now you actually have to learn the job. So
Mhm.
soaking up, going to as many classes as you can, shadowing existing agents, partnering up with other agents, shadowing for an open house. So you're just trying to take in as much as you possibly can, getting
Mhm.
comfortable with the contract documents, being able to ask all of those questions in those first few months. And then the business building piece of it is the other focus, which is getting comfortable with talking about real estate, having a couple of things. You don't have to know everything there is to know. You do not have to be an expert in all of the things. Have a couple of talking points so that you can talk to the mom at a sports practice and let them know that you just started in real estate and you're so excited about this particular aspect of it. So
Mhm.
that's the other piece is getting the word out to your network that you are in real estate so that they can start thinking of you not just as Heather, the mom from school or a dance mom, but Heather, the real estate agent, or Abby, the real estate agent. So that's really what your first 6 months is. Get the word
Yeah.
out, soak in as much as you can.
Yeah.
Can
I
I
think
add
I did
something to that?
not expect how many people would ask me the exact same question, which is, how's the market? That is the question. If you can figure out how to answer that in your first 6 months, you're going to soar. Because for the first 6 months, you just jumble. You're like, I don't know. It's up, it's down, rates are somewhere. Help me. It's great. Do you want to buy a house?
All right.
So
Can I add one thing to that
Yeah.
too? When I first started, somebody told me to dress the part. And so that way, if you always looked like you were a quote unquote real estate agent, and you were running late or you had to leave early for whatever reason, it was always, I have to get to a showing. I have a house I have to go show, and start using that language.
Mhm.
And it does work to a certain extent when you're brand new. And then my kids were much younger, so I always was picking up, dropping off on the sidelines of something or some activity there. And that's what people kind of start to expect and started to associate me with. And at that time, I lived in a small town, and so
Mhm.
it was much easier to do then,
Yeah.
especially.
And I learned,
Mhm.
Heather, when people said, "How's the market?" I would say it's unbelievable because it could be unbelievably good or
Yeah.
unbelievably bad. Either way, I was
Or
right.
Right.
or why do you ask?
Oh.
So Lynn, from your perspective, what separates agents who succeed from those who struggle? Because you've seen them all.
Yeah. I would say similar to kind of what everyone else has said is, you think of a typical kind of a salesperson, and you kind of get a picture in your mind of like this like go, 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 just, driving, chasing money. And it's really not like that. I think to be fully successful, I think it is the relationship aspect. You're talking to people that are your friends, your family, um, and you're not looking at it as this could be my next deal. You're building relationships, you're maintaining friendships, meeting people at your kid's school. I think that's kind of the biggest piece, is just not looking at every kind of interaction as a this is going to be my next deal. I feel like it just doesn't. I feel like people can tell. I don't think it's authentic. And I just think that kind of building those little, building upon the seeds that you're planting now, they may pay off, but also you're just making friendships. You're in your
Mhm.
community. So I think looking at it that way as a new agent, just it takes time. You have to be patient. It's not instant gratification. It'd be great if that was the case. And sometimes I think it's helpful for a new agent to have those little wins, to kind of propel you forward. But yeah, I think just number one, it's about building, those relationships, and it can just grow from there. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being accessible too, like,
Mhm.
being a friend, making a comment, socially with
Yeah.
someone, and then they're like, "I have been meaning to text you." It's like just be there. Just be there. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
Yeah. From a practical standpoint, I know a lot of people want to know like the cost of getting started. Um, so I'm just gonna kind of rattle off a few things, but y'all add what you know to be the case. From a getting your license standpoint, there's actually some free options to do it online. I know that, but if you're going to pay for it, it's a few $100s for the course, which is what, a is it 75 hours? 75 hour course to get that's pre-license, and then you get to take the test. Once you complete that, then you take the actual state of Georgia test. And then if you get your license, then you place it with a broker, and that broker typically has some fees, right? They're kind of all over the place, but most um, offices have about $100 a month. I'll just call it broker fee that covers different things. E&O insurance and some other things are covered in that. Um, so I don't know. I just have always said like count on about $2,000 in your first year. Does that sound
Mhm.
right? That,
Mhm.
Yeah, because you have your realtor association
yeah,
dues
Mhm.
that's
that you
about
have to
400 bucks.
join. Yep.
Yeah,
And then
have
your
your lockbox key,
lockbox.
which is like 17 bucks a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I tried to get one of my hairstylists into the business one time because the bodies in her chair talking about their lives daily was I mean, I couldn't wish for a better appointment schedule than she had had. And I was like, you should get your license. I mean, she sent business to us. But what if she got her license and she could refer to us who she was already referring? I'm just here to help. And, never happened. But boy, had she done that, that would have been unbelievable. I mean, you can be a referral agent too. You don't always have to be, you know, boots on the ground like we are. So, anyway,
Mhm.
that's just another way to, you know, side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question just for anybody who wants to answer it. But if you were starting over today, what would you do differently? Well, I'll answer it since y'all are not answering. But so what, if I were to do it over again, I think, one of the things that Joanne and I learned, or I know Joanne was pretty good at delegating, but I was not very good at delegating in the beginning. And I did a lot of things myself that I know I could have delegated faster through, different ways. So with real estate, if you're a solo agent and you do everything yourself, there's like hundreds of tasks, right? From marketing to the paperwork to the admin to the financials to like all that stuff. And a lot of people, do it themselves, but I think if you just hang on to the pieces that you like, you'll be more successful
Yeah.
faster, right? And give up,
Mm.
be willing to pay somebody else to do some of those things or be on a team or whatever it is. But that's
Mhm.
one thing that I would have just done that faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like we learned how to do things that weren't a strength so that we could help teach someone how to do it. I mean, we can just play in our weaknesses all day long, and that is not serving our gifts.
Mm.
And you serve your gifts, and I don't know how to do Lynn's job, but she sure does. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to learn your job so I can teach. I mean, we were learning stuff we did not need to learn, and what a waste. So I'm hot on that topic.
Yeah.
And also just being
Um,
more authentically yourself, right? So all of us have different personalities, and you don't have to try to recreate what somebody else does, regardless of how successful they are. You're going to be more authentic if you're yourself. And so play into your strengths and your personality, and the people that know you and love you appreciate you for that anyway. So they're not looking for something different. Um, because it's really easy to see kind of all the shiny things out there and all the different people doing real estate, and some people do social media at a really high level. And you don't have to do that to be successful unless that's something that you really want to do and you're really passionate about.
Mhm.
any other mistakes that you feel like just in general people should avoid or in the beginning?
Getting
Oh,
too busy with the minutia. I think you really have to focus in on um, that consistent effort to get the word out there that you're in real estate and the conversations that you're having. Have that
Mhm.
elevator speech, if so that you can rattle that off 2 minutes, 30 seconds as you meet people so they know what you do, and just to
Mhm.
continually talk about it. It's really easy to get busy with different classes or looking at houses, and all of that stuff is important, but if you're not talking to people and intentionally talking to people, it's not going to correlate into transactions and clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Heather makes a good point. What another thing that I see a lot of new agents do, because it's easy to do, is, well, I just need to like take that next class. Well, once
Mhm.
I get that certification, then I'm gonna, be able to go talk to people and do this. But I'm just gonna keep, and you just keep taking classes and getting certified in all these things, but you still don't have a client because you haven't done, as Heather said, you haven't done the basics, which is just go talk to people, find
Mhm.
out about people, be curious about people, be interested in people. That's where the leads come from. And you can take these classes along the way, but they're not going to get you the client like you think they are.
Yeah.
I call
Yeah.
that analysis paralysis. Yeah, there's a lot that's not good for in real estate.
Hmm.
Well, and especially if you're transitioning from a different career and you were really successful at what you did beforehand, I think that's where some of that comes from. And I definitely fell into that a little bit was, I was at the top of my game. I worked in public schools for over 15 years and definitely knew the system. I was somebody people came to and then to start from scratch. And I fell into a team because I didn't even know there were teams and that it was an option. And all of a sudden I found myself as a buyer's agent. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was just, oh, okay, sure. Um, and it's okay. Just do the work, have the conversations, and then do the classes after.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Great. Was there anything that I haven't asked y'all that we feel like we should let somebody know about if they're thinking about getting in real estate?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to add like, it's all about people and connecting with people and there's a healthy tension involved when you need to make connections with people and introduce and all of that. And I mean, thank God for it because the connections and relationships that we've had for years have been amazing, and I'll talk to strangers, but that put pressure on me to move out of my comfort zone more and stay connected, make more new connections and I mean, I just think that's a gift. Tom, I like to say we kind of grew up in this business together. I
Mhm.
mean, we literally, and we've gotten, better. We're a healthier couple for it because we've been growing together, not just, one's growing and the other's not. So, I mean, that actually proves a point. Like your spouse has to be super supportive, right? It's
Mhm.
like, I mean, I love to see Abby when Dan is sharing stories more than you are. I mean, that is like the
Mhm.
best thing. I'm like, go Dan.
Yeah.
That is so good. You have
Well,
to support.
that's a good point because the way the business is structured without structure, and you'll have weekends and evenings. You have to have that support at home, right? And if your family at home is not on board with it, then it's going to be really difficult, right? Because you're going to be away more. You're going to, you know, they're, you're going to not necessarily be able to make dinner every night or whatever. If they were used to a certain thing and now it's changing, I have seen that be difficult for everyone if they're not all on board from the beginning.
Hmm.
It's that setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
Tom, that you're talking about. So that, I try really hard when there comes a certain point in time where at the end of the night, unless I'm in the middle of negotiate or I'm expecting to hear about an offer or something like that, that I won't answer my phone anymore. And I woke up the other morning and there were texts starting at 4:30 a.m. from
Oh,
people, but I don't need to answer those at 4:30 and I don't need to be talking to clients at midnight. And one of the very first offers I wrote, I remember the client calling me at 11:30 saying, I'm ready to put an offer in. And I said, okay, let's do it.
oh
And
my
we did it for that night. Um, I wouldn't do that again. I was a lot younger and had a lot more energy,
God.
but
Yeah.
you live and learn. Those boundaries are really important. Bless
Yeah.
you.
Well, and a boundary like in a good way too, because I got into real
Mhm.
estate. A lot of, the moms dropping their kids off at carpool at 7 a.m. had their yoga pants on because they were heading to the yoga studio. And I just remember thinking, how wonderful would that be to be going to a yoga class at 9 o'clock? Like that would be a dream. And you can plan your day around a yoga class at 9. You totally can.
Yeah.
And that's something that I didn't really keep really protected early in the business. And I let that slide. And I really feel like your health is something that it will be the first, you're gonna throw out the window. So that would be something that I would change if I could go back.
It's hard to
Mhm.
do, but then people are so respectful of it. And those are the times where I find myself accidentally finding business.
Oh,
Mhm.
Because I'm playing tennis or in a yoga class or doing something, and my guard is completely down, and people find you the most authentic. And they're like, wait, I actually do need your help. And I'm like, ooh, not now. Can we talk can we talk at noon? Like,
yeah.
and so that it almost kind of like builds a whole thing, and people seem to find that that's, I don't know, they don't seem like you're the agent trying to get their business. They're almost like, hey, we need your help. And then
Uh-huh.
you're like, okay, I'll talk to you
Mhm.
in two and
Right.
a half hours once I've showered.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. So here at the end, we wanted to open it up if you have a question, you're welcome to type it in the chat, or you can come off mute if you have a question, um, because I am out of questions. So, all right, no questions. Yeah, so I think hopefully we answered everyone's questions tonight, and we appreciate you taking the time to watch it. If we didn't answer your questions, or if you want to ask some questions, we're happy to be a resource. Um, no pressure. So
Mhm.
reach
Yeah.
out, and yeah.
Thanks for being real.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
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 Bye.